Hello, soldiers. My name is Commander Cyrious. Today I'm going to update my advanced training on the Infiltrator class. I've seen a few videos come out here and there that have doubted my beloved Infiltrator class, thinking it's somehow inferior to the other classes. In fact, while I think the recent Arsenal patch had an overall balancing effect among all the classes, the Infiltrator's massive versatility may just put it a cut above all the rest. We're going to talk about sniping, knifing, and everything in between, and how the nanoweave nerf makes Infiltrators the most powerful they've ever been. Let's dive in, soldiers. I'll see you Planetside. So, soldiers, if you haven't been to one of my advanced trainings before, I want to lay out the ground rules. Advanced training does not mean it's not useful information for beginners or people that are new to the game. It means that a lot of loadouts depend on you having a lot of things unlocked, and you have your equipment upgraded to max rank. Some of these loadouts don't use the meta implant. For example, I use ammo printer a lot on Infiltrator. It works great for me. I find myself operating alone for long periods of time without resupply. But if you find yourself never running out of ammo, the implant is worthless to you. So take the loadout ideas, take the technical skills I share with you here, and adapt them to your playstyle, what works for you. By now, you should have maxed out all passive certifications for the Infiltrator, like hacking speed, and your tools should be maxed out whether you're using the recon gun or the motion spotter. My loadouts are not built around specific weapons, just weapon classes. Down in the description, there is a link to Liddy's faction weapon counterparts chart. This is the Bible to weapon equivalency across factions. If you see me using a DMR 99 battle rifle, but you're NC, you can go to that chart and figure out what weapon is equivalent of that on the NC faction. I will stress again though, just because you see me using a weapon does not mean I like it. I am a serial Araxium weapon chaser. I use weapons I don't like just to complete them. If I am using an SMG, you can substitute an SMG you like, or just if it's the only one you have, and still have the same effect in that loadout. Okay, let's lay the groundwork. First, I want to talk about my ASP system points. They don't directly affect my small arms play with Infiltrator, but it's good to understand the baseline for what my character's like. Sidearm primaries, I really consider this a meme ability. Sometimes I go dual commi on a heavy assault. Probably more useful unlocking something for the engineer though. And then I took all of the transport discounts. Being able to more often pull that Galaxy or Valk for your squad, or pull that rapid disposable ESF transport, I find to be one of the most useful parts of the ASP system.
I did not take any Infiltrator points. The EMP grenade is so powerful. It did get nerfed,
but it's still the best pair with the Infiltrator's playstyle, so I just stick with the EMP. Light Assault, I have the SMG secondary. This is especially nice for the NS Punisher, so you can carry around that class-specific underbarrel. Medic, I grab that Scout Rifle secondary. For those loadouts where you have to hang behind the heavies, it's nice to have something that can reach out and pester people. The Engineer can really benefit from this program. There's a lot you could unlock here. I'll dive into why I only use the Shotgun secondary in the Engineer Advanced Training. And finally, for the Heavy Assault, it's nice to throw a Thumper or a Stomper in your secondary slot. Okay, let's dive into our loadouts. When you have a membership, you get 7 loadout slots. To be honest, 99% of my time is on the first 4. You do not need all 7 loadouts to be effective. First is my long-range sniper loadout. I make sure that I do not have a suppressor on this loadout, and I swap my scopes around based on range. I have a good close-range pistol on hand in case someone sneaks up on me, or if I'm caught in this loadout and I'm pushing a field and running into CQC fights. When moving around, I have my pistol out. Hunter Cloaking is my go-to cloak, and I like the speed of adrenaline pump. The EMP grenades and medical kit are my most preferred in grenade and utility slot. Since I am using a standard pistol here, I will use a regular knife. Critical Chain pairs nicely for long-range bolt-action rifles. Target Focus gives good info on the enemy and increases your hold breath duration for sniping. I have the Cordian Bomb here for blowing up bases, but the Pocket Flash is also handy in your tactical slot. Next loadout is my mid-range loadout where I use scout rifles or battle rifles. I still differentiate them, although the game sees them as the same thing right now. While many of this weapon class is functional in CQC, I still reach for a pistol within 5 meters. I do stick with the recon gun. I like that the enemy doesn't know where I am based on the darts. And with both sniper and scout rifles, I will engage past the range of a motion detector. I stick with the hunter cloaking. I prefer the glass cannon loadout. You could swap to nano armor cloaking on this one. And on Infiltrator, I'm always about speed, speed, speed. I use that adrenaline pump. I bring along the medical kits here. In my tactical slot, I have the Hard Light Canopy. I find the Hard Light Canopy to be the most versatile tactical slot item. Use it in small indents in terrain. It can be used to breach stairs on most types of buildings. I use that unless I have specific need for one of the other options. On implants, this is my most common Infiltrator implant loadout right now. I love the ability to move around nearly freely without being detected on the minimap with sensor shield. Most of my engagements on an Infiltrator don't really benefit from Assimilate. And with Infiltrator, I often find myself on my own, flanking behind enemy lines so I don't have support of engineers or sunderers. That constant replenish of ammo and recon darts helps a lot. And finally, I have the NSX Amaterasu. It's always a good weapon, but it's indispensable on loadouts without pistols. Next loadout is my by far most used CQC SMG loadout. I use a soft point ammo, laser sight, suppressed SMG. Weapons with suppressors and soft point ammo feel like they're shooting wiffle balls past 10 meters. So you do have to be prepared to get up in enemies' faces with loadouts like this. Secondary slot. With the CQC weapon, I no longer need a pistol. So what I like to bring in my Infiltrator loadout is actually some AV damage. For that, I use the Hunter crossbow with explosive bolts. This was really, really effective, especially when Osher came out and you're running around those fields with a lot of armor. I've taken on vanguards with this thing. It's also really helpful if you come across a cloak sunderer and you want to spot it for your friends. By default, Infiltrators have nothing to break the cloak so they can spot it. This allows that. So I really like the utility of a crossbow. The big thing though is if you ditch a pistol, I highly recommend having the NSX Amaterasu, and make sure you have a keybound that you can pull it out like a pistol. Sometimes you run out of ammo with your primary, or if you're on your crossbow and need a quick draw, it's quicker to pull out the knife. Now in the ability slot, I still use Hunter Cloak. This loadout would be a good candidate for a nano armor cloak. For my playstyle, I prefer the longevity of the cloak and the quick recharge. Stay stealthy with implants and suppressor. Get in and out before other enemies really notice. If you're not as stealthy though, you can go with nano armor cloak, get a kill, and then escape while taking fire with the 35% damage reduction. Again, using adrenaline pump on this loadout. Infiltrator was one of the only classes I didn't use nano weave on before the nerf, so it effectively made all my loadouts more powerful versus the other classes when they lost nano weave. Again, using sensor shield to stay off of the mini-maps, and the ammo printer keeps your recon gun going, and SMGs don't have huge ammo pools, so ammo printer helps when you're operating behind enemy lines. Next loadout is my Stalker Cloak loadout. Always handy to have one of these. Remember, your primary weapon will be disabled if you have Stalker Cloak equipped. I normally use this loadout when I'm kind of playing with my outfit and I have to like go cap the next base or go hack out a sunderer somewhere. It's just handy to have permanent invisibility. The implants are actually based on using a one-hit kill knife, but with the Arsenal update, those weapons are nerfed. So I will be probably messing with my implants on that loadout. Next is my CQC bolting loadout. You may notice I'm not using a CQC bolt-action sniper rifle. Again, this is due to my Araxium chasing. I highly recommend you use the SAR-42, the Ghost, or the SAS-R on this loadout. These are the sniper rifles that are considered close quarters combat. Their damage falls off faster, but they make up for it by being able to equip lower magnification scopes, faster times to scope in, and faster rechamber times. This is probably one of the most powerful loadouts of the Infiltrator class. Being able to be invisible and pop out with a one-hit kill weapon is difficult to counter. That being said, both the tracking and twitch skills for CQC sniping is difficult to acquire. With the CQC bolting, I do prefer to have a pistol. The mag sizes are low and it's still difficult to use within 5 meters. I stick with most of my preferred slots in the rest of the loadout. This loadout focuses on killing before you take a lot of damage, so I prefer the increased uptime of Hunter Cloak. In the tool slot, this is just an item used for completing missions. And then as always on Infiltrator, I stick with Sensor Shield and then I toy around with the other slot as needed. Currently running Assimilate for further cloak uptime. Next loadout I call Driving. It's all about running around in a cloaked flash. It's built around the Jockey implant, which increases your shields by 50% while you're in a vehicle seat. Originally I used nano armor cloaking because it granted 100 extra health and you don't actually need your Infiltrator's cloak on this class. But that's been removed now. Use the cloak you want. Auxiliary shield further increases your health. And then EOD HUD just saves you from those pesky tank mines. And finally, I have my Knifer loadout. This was based on using a one-hit kill knife. Vampire returns health on melee or CQC pistol kills. In Carapace, eliminated your shield and turned your health pool into 100 health. So Vampire and Restoration kits had their full effect. Now again, the one-hit kill knives have been nerfed. They went from doing 1050 damage, which will one-hit kill anything even if it's in the body, to doing 900 damage, so you now need to land a headshot for a one-hit kill. Regular knives are equipable. They trade lower damage for a faster swing time. I'm going to have to do some more testing which type of knife I prefer at this point. Okay, soldiers, let's look at some Infiltrator play. In this case, I started a solo cap and then I got wiped out. So now I'm coming back in. I have both an ESF and Liberator loadout with ejection seat. Nowadays, I use the Liberator more, again, just for Araxium medals. When you're trying to operate 1 versus 6 or 1 versus 8, whatever it happens to be, it helps a lot to thin them out on the way in. Again, you'll see I opted for the knife there. I am using the AV crossbolt in my secondary, so I've got that knife to effectively be my pistol. There's a full squad that basically came to wipe me out, so I'm debating whether I keep going on this route. They already back-capped the Ziggurat behind. Is there a point? But why not? I'm going to keep using it as a pop sync, try to keep this squad here fighting me. Shouldn't have redeployed, but anyways, easy to quick pull a Valk in this case, because that's all I have nanites for. I'm going to try to re-establish my front with a Sunderer. War assets are your best friend for work like this. Trying to drive a Sundy over would take way too long. Again, if you're newer, if you're not sure you can use war assets in your outfit, talk to your outfit leader. Most outfits just have extra green sitting around. As long as you've spent a little bit of time with an outfit, they're usually going to give you access to the anvils, and I use those heavy anvils a lot. This one is actually a failed initiate. I expected the squad to have moved on by now, but they are sitting waiting for me. I am not able to get the Sunderer set up without C4 and light assaults being all over me. You'll notice I've got 29 seconds left on the point capture time. I really am trying to get back on point before that ticks down, since we no longer have connection to this base. So normally I might have driven the Sunderer further away, try to save it behind a tree. Here, that's not really my mission. Now, I hustle back to the point, and while it's not a victory in terms of the cap timer, it's a victory to me that I got this many people to stand around and wait for me. You can see my quick juke back. I thought everyone would have left the point by now. I don't know how many of them are AFK, and I see a Spitfire turret. The EMP takes everyone from 1,000 health down to 500, and it takes the Spitfire out of the fight. With a couple of people being fully AFK, I'm able to easily tear through all of them. Now, I love when engineers leave Spitfire turrets around, especially when I'm operating solo. It's not like it's going to do a lot of damage, but it draws attention and alerts you to enemies approaching. This type of point is an infiltrator's dream. Claustrophobic, cramped buildings do not work well for infiltrators. There you want a shield bubble and flak armor. Here I have a lot of weird Hausen foliage to break line of sight with and sort of fade into. When you're running around as Infiltrator, you are very visible in the open, but when you're dodging in and out of cover, it's tough to keep track of them. I am heavily using the minimap in a scenario like this. If I see just one dot approaching, I will aggressively go after it. Most enemies will approach assuming you're just sitting on point. I can see the flanking route they're trying to take and move to engage them before they're even ready for a fight. I was trying to use my recon darts sparingly here, and that got the best of me. A few guys snuck up on me. So then it's run and displace, using what intel I can to stay ahead of them. In this case, I went a little bit tunnel vision, staring at the minimap, trying to escape the guy chasing me, that I didn't see what was in front of me. This guy was wisely staying off the minimap by not moving and waiting for some friends before they went in there. In my defense, you may not have seen him the first time around either. Okay, so that's some kind of out-popped, behind-the-lines sort of defensive play. Let's talk about some more open-field aggressor type of play. Key things here are line of sight. You need to keep yourself near a rock or a hill or something you can use to angle around the enemies. And you need to keep up your intel. My movement here is based on knowing exactly where the enemies are at all times. Submachine gun play is my favorite style on the Infiltrator. For anyone new, you hear me hollering about don't buy weapons. Well, buying a submachine gun, which you don't start with, is certainly an exception to that rule. You can get one through a free weapon code. I will put that down in the description. At any rate, I've kind of filled the VS out here. I kind of know where they're coming from, where they're popping over the hill. I'm now looking for an opportunity to be the aggressor and to push into them. I'm not going to make that move until I've thinned out what's there in the open field. I am popping over, getting a few good shots off, and then finding cover again. I am always engaging one at a time, not multiple targets. Do not get bogged down spraying bullets in two different directions. Make sure you pick one and only attack that one. If that target is no longer attackable, then you can consider switching. Using this ridge line, I can run up and down and engage targets on either end pretty easily. Now keep an eye on this next guy I kill here because there's going to be a accusation in the future. I am certainly using the ridge line to my advantage. You can see my reticle just above it. On his screen, when the camera zooms in on me, it looks like I am standing fully behind that ridge line. So he is walking into a standard accusation pitfall and or just blaming it on the game, when in fact it was very fundamentally clean kill. You can watch the upper right of your screen for that to pop up. Now I love working rocks and hills. Sometimes you get ones that you hook on too much. You can't run over freely, stay away from those. But these ones are great for a combination of coverage and free movement. You're going to start to see here why I like having ammo printer, although it can't keep up sometimes. For now, it's basically me and a tank keeping these two pushes at bay. You will notice I generally ignore the max. There's no way I have enough damage to get through his health pool. It's a waste of bullets and will probably get me killed. After escaping that first max, heal up a little bit, and then I can pop right back over the rock and regain the position. Don't forget the yell chat battle. It is equally as important as the on-field battle. You need to vanquish your enemy both mentally and pixely. That is a joke and a made-up word. So that is the vision for this SMG play, guys. I kept my head up a little bit too long there. Keep the intel up and keep some angles available, and you will be able to hold off a much larger force. One quick tip here when you run out of ammunition, remember, enemy ammo packs resupply you as well, so be grateful to your enemy engineers, keeping you resupplied on the front lines. Okay, soldiers, for our next advanced training case study, let's talk about infantry terminals. Believe it or not, there are actually a lot of them out there in open bases. I think people don't pay attention to them that much, they just expect them in spawn rooms. But man, the world is your oyster if you can find one of these with bad guys coming at you. With the recon, I can tell exactly when they're coming around the corner, and since I have free resupplies, I can lob some EMPs at them to make sure I'm engaging them at half health. I'm also going to spend an EMP to get those motion spotters down up above so I can move freely without them detecting me. And finally, for extra fortification, I can take a second to throw some claymores on the ground. I'm debating how well I have to secure my flank. Right now, C is well under their control and no one's really moving through it. So I decide, okay, I'm good, I'll just focus on this tunnel. And now, here it comes. On the mini-map, I'm seeing 5 dots moving my way. Are my fortifications going to be enough to go 1v5? I can't lead with EMP here because that's just going to ruin my claymores. I'm hoping 2 round the corner at one time, but it looks like 1 took the brunt of it. It's actually up to 6 in that tunnel now. The EMP is key because I could never survive if all 4 just charge the room. The bold ones come in at half health and are easy targets. The others, running for cover to try to heal, end up getting split off and I can take them out one by one. You'll notice I'm constantly resupplying at the infantry terminal. It is topping off my shields every time I resupply at it, as well as giving me that extra EMP grenade. Do notice I'm not just shooting back all the time, there's a lot of evade. We learned this in one of the advanced trainings. I am breaking line of sight before I engage these guys, then I am stepping out so I have peeker's advantage. Boom, so I fended off that wave. I'm going to stay on top of my intel, make sure I get anything else that's trying to sneak down on top of me. Do be prepared to switch class as well, guys. Plenty of times I've seen a max suit coming at me and then I swap over to a heavy assault with an AV grenade and a decimator. I don't always win those battles, but I can usually take the max down with me. And once that wave is down, it is time to rebuild fortifications again. I'm looking at the 3 dots on my flank. I'm constantly trying to determine if they are on the level above me or if they're coming at me. Part of the reason I don't mind sneaking out here because I'm just going to let them walk in that room without ambushing me. I don't need intel here. I saw that the terminal flipped back. I know there's an infiltrator around. His mistake was not making sure he got his own intel out. I was able to kind of get the drop on him. Take those 2 out, and then I am reestablished in the room. I am going to claim more on my backside now, so I have a little bit of cover. Terminal is back in my control, and we are back in business, baby. Keep lobbing those EMP grenades. Get your enemies down 50% health before you have to fight them. Throwing those EMPs, I am wiping out my own darts sometimes, so I am replacing my darts often. And keep rinsing and repeating, rinsing and repeating. If there is someone that's a little bit tentative and backs away from my EMP grenade, I am not going to sit back and give them the opportunity to refresh. I'm going to charge up there and bring the engagement to them while they are down 500 health because they don't have a shield. Do remember, if you plan to stand in a corner cloaked, you cannot move at all. If you are immobile, your cloak enters a increased level of deep cloak and is less visible. If you are ADAing, they will be able to see you when they come around the corner. Okay, soldiers, good deal. I hope you put that in your tool belt. Next, let's talk about sniping. We'll talk about both long range and CQC. What you're watching here is the TR Araxium Sniper, the Bighorn. It is super long range. I am using the default scope on this, which is a 6x. At these engagement ranges, the 2 key things you're looking for are stationary targets and targets moving in a straight line. Trying to anticipate 80-80 spam, guys juking around at this range, just really isn't fruitful. It's better to focus on targets when they're at their most vulnerable. Your only real threat here is counter snipers. When you pop and visit this range, they will completely lose track of you. So fire, get some cloak on, reposition, and take a few more shots. They're going to train their reticles at the location you were they last saw you, so make sure that is wasted effort the next time you pop up. You'll notice me ignoring some damage from the left and the rear. It's probably another sniper, but there's not a lot of kills in getting into a dance battle with a sniper far off. And right around this corner here that I've been working, it's a target-rich environment, so I am just going to stick with that. So guys, that is sort of long-range sniping. There's not a whole lot of nuance to it. Find a good perch, don't get counter-sniped, and have at it. Next, guys, we're going to take a peek at CQC bolting. And this is real CQC bolting, not me trying to force it with the rams. You'll notice I can rattle off shots faster and move in and out of scope really fast. Sometimes missing the headshot will be the death of you, but if they're far enough away, following up with a second body shot gets the job done. With sniping, your tracking and your twitch skills are very important. And these skills are hard to develop if your frame rate is inconsistent. So that is my advice for sniping. Start with figuring out your system so that you can run 60 FPS or better consistently. And once you have eliminated that variable, then you can start working and training your muscle memory. Pick one sniper rifle. I recommend the SASR, the SAR, or the Ghost, and use just that one. Do not swap between a bunch of them. The scoping in and out and the velocity differences will change the cadence of how you play each one. You want to build a pattern for yourself. You want to come to a complete stop when you're shooting. Fluidly scope in, spend just a moment tracking the target, release the round, and keep moving again. Standing still is death in Planetside 2. If you think you're going to be able to just post up somewhere far away and take shots, that'll work here and there, but they're going to catch on and they're going to counter snipe you. From here, you just need to get the reps in. Your muscle memory will improve, And over time, you will start to get a feel for the relationship between your weapon's muzzle velocity, the distance to the target, and how fast and what trajectory they're moving in. You will start to be able to make these calculations so that you can confidently lead them and start being able to engage not just targets that are standing still, but targets at various angles, heights, and velocities. I often hear people complain about the heavy assault being just flat out better than the other classes. And especially pre the Arsenal update patch, there was some weight to that argument. The overshield, and especially Adrenaline overshield, was just so powerful. But if there was anything that was more powerful or a flat out counter to a strong heavy assault, it was a good infill with a CQC bolt action rifle. And finally, I wanted to spend a minute chatting about knifing. Traditionally, a good knifing loadout was always a staple of a well-rounded infiltrator. Fun, chaos, mayhem, infiltrating backlines, doesn't run out of ammunition. A lot of great perks to it. But the one-hit kills knives are really no longer one-hit kills. Yes, if you hit them in the head, it is. But as chaotic as these CQC knife fights are, that can be very difficult to do. So I'm going to have to rethink my knife loadout a little bit. The big thing I want to get out there though, is how equipped knives work. A lot of people think of knives having a slash attack. They can swing them wildly in front of them and it will hit the enemy. And with a quick knife, that is generally true. But once you equip a knife, you can no longer think of it like a knife, you have to think of it like a gun. Your knife is now shooting short-lived, low-velocity bullets. These bullets will travel about 2 meters. So if you're running around with that one-hit kill knife and you're finding it hard to hit things, that is why. You're trying to chase something and you're firing your gun knife too soon, so the bullet's not making it to the target. Or while you were facing the target, your reticle wasn't actually on. They were maybe just to the left or just to the right of the target's body or head. And since it's a gun, not a slash, that means you miss. So keep that in mind while you have a knife equipped. What I would recommend having in your arsenal, though, is the Amaterasu. This knife, it really does shoot bullets, and it has a particle effect to show that, and it has a 15-meter range. So it can replace your pistol when you use something like a shotgun or a crossbow in your secondary slot. And when you are out there running around knifing, you have a much better chance of being able to reach out and touch your target. Okay, soldiers, that's all I have for you for today. Again, down in the description, there's going to be information on weapon equivalencies. There's going to be my previous Infiltrator guide if you want to do any more training. The loadout stuff is probably outdated at this point, but all of the gameplay may still give you some good tips and tricks. So check out those links. I will be diving into the rest of the classes soon. I have a lot to share. I know there's a lot of people coming back. They will be sharpening up their skills again, or there's some brand new players that kind of need a boost to catch up on some of the classes. Would love to hear more down in the comments section about your favorite Infiltrator playstyle, or if you just plain hate the class and can't figure it out. That's going to be it for now, soldiers. I'm Commander Cyrious, and until next time, I will see you Planetside.